Hi everyone, Crista Cowan here with another episode of the Barefoot Genealogist. Today's topic is message boards. Now, if you've never used the message boards on Ancestry.com, there's a lot of really good information available for you in the next 20 minutes or so. If you have used the message boards on Ancestry.com or on rootsweb.com, they're mirror images of one another, then maybe there's a thing or two that you can learn. And if you're watching this video live, hopefully you'll hop on our live stream chat immediately afterwards, and maybe you can share with some of us your experiences in using the message boards. Before I dive into that, let me just give you a quick update on what's going on this week. As always, if you're watching this live, I'll be available on chat immediately following the presentation, and you can answer, let's try that again. You can ask me any questions specifically about today's topic, and then once we've exhausted those, I usually stick around for a little while longer to answer any other genealogy questions you may have. Also, tonight, what is the date today? I don't even know. Is that terrible? Today's May 15th. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, that's 5 p.m. Pacific, we will have an hour-long webinar called Ready, Set, Go, which is for brand new genealogists. So if you're brand new to genealogy and you need some help getting started or want some information about how to do certain things, I'll be sharing that tonight in an hour-long webinar. And then next week, or Thursday, so in 2 days, we also have some other events coming up, and I'll just give you a quick link to all of those at the end of today's presentation. So let's dive into our discussion about message boards. Here's what we're going to cover. I decided just to give it to you all at once today. Here's what we're going to cover today after I show you where to find the message boards. We'll just talk about general search, how to search them, how to use them. We'll talk about browsing, which I think is something that is an underutilized way to view the message boards. We'll talk about how to search within a board. I'll show you some of the advanced search options, and then we'll talk about how to actually interact with those message board postings by replying to things that others have posted or by posting your own requests or information on the boards. So on our website, you're going to find those message boards under the Collaborate tab. So if you just hover, remember these are hover buttons, not click buttons. If you just hover over Collaborate, you're going to see message boards there as that second option. When you click on that, it's going to take you to our message board dashboard view. Now you just have a quick little search box, just a simple search box here if you want to search the message boards, or you have a topic here to search by topic. You can then actually view the boards down here by topic, by location, or by category. So let's just talk real quickly about how to search them. It's really simple. You just can search for things like an ancestor's name. So for example, I could search for George Cowan and click search, and what I'm going to find is that there are 1,836 different messages that contain the words George Cowan in them. We're going to view these 10 at a time, or we can view these up to 50 at a time so that we don't have to keep going through one at a time. Or I can actually come up here and alter my search results so that it'll only show, so that I can narrow that down from all, 1,300 down, in this case, to 138 by simply adding a state. So simple searches that work that way. Now here's what I'm going to do with some of these search results. And let's see if I can explain this clearly. One of the challenges of teaching is sometimes I think something makes sense, and hopefully you'll let me know if it doesn't. So let's just look, for example, at this third entry here. So the top thing you're going to see in the entry is the actual subject line of the email. So in this case, the subject line has nothing to do with George Cowan. They're asking about a John E. Ellsby from Oakfield Township, and they've got some information here. I can scroll over here to the right, and it tells me when that message was posted. Now, message boards have been around for a really long time. As you can see, this particular message was posted in May of 1999, and so this user, Kent CC, may or may not still be around or active online. So pay attention to that date just as a matter of information, but there are message board posts. I have had message boards replied to. I think the longest was 7 years after I posted it. I've had stories of people in the company and people that I've met, members that I've met, where 10, 12 years later, they're getting replies to some of these message board posts. So don't discount that date, but just be aware of it. immediately under the subject line of that message board, you're going to see of that message posting, you're going to see what board it's on. Now the boards, like I said, are divided by category, surname, those kinds of topics. So I can see that this is in the localities topic here under North America, United States, states, Michigan, counties, and Kent County. So really what this is a board about Kent County, Michigan, and they've posted this query here, or this message posting about this person. Now I can actually go into this one post by clicking on that link there for the subject line. If you click on this board link, it'll take you to the board. But if I want to view this specific message, click on that message. And it'll take me to this view where I can actually see what they posted. So I can look here and it tells me, he's providing some information that he got actually out of a book about Oakfield Township. It looks like one of the little biographies that are often included in town and local histories. He's included the page number and the publication information there. So a lot of times what you're going to find are things just like this, things where somebody has found something in a family Bible, in a published book that's not online, and they've actually copied that information and placed it here online. And then other people, if you look just immediately below that, other people have replied or commented. In this case, somebody provided some additional information, it looks like, on this John Ellsby family, and then somebody else commented here a few years later. Now, you can view these, this is called threaded, where you can view one message after the other, or, this is how I prefer to do it, I can actually change it to a flat view, which means I can just read all the messages on one page, one right after the other. I like to do that because it helps. I don't have to click through a bunch of different pages. I can just go one at a time through those messages all on the same page so that I know what I'm looking at. And like I said, this is very common where people post information that you may not find anywhere else because it's in some published book, in some obscure library, or it's in a family Bible. So do a search for your ancestor, maybe even your brick wall ancestor, in this just keyword field right here. Just plug in a name of somebody that you're looking for and see what comes up. And if you get too many hits, like I said, in this case it's only 152, that's pretty good. But if you get too many hits, you can narrow it further by adding a location or even make maybe a date or the name of a spouse. One of the other things that you'll notice here is that there aren't just location boards, there are surname boards as well. So this particular search that I just did yielded a whole bunch of results out of this Inman surname board. So I can scroll through there, and if I find what I'm looking for, maybe then I go search that specific board for something. I'll show you how to do that. First, let's talk about browse really quickly. So browse is just one of the ways you can see what's out there. And this is one of those things that that when you're just getting started, sometimes you're a little hesitant to just go clicking around, but I would encourage you to do that. Oftentimes we don't, always, we don't know what we don't know. And browsing is a way to kind of open our view or expand our vision of what's possible or what's available. So I might come in here and I might say, you know what, I want to look at some of these categories. And really look at all these boards, right? We've got adoption, we've got boards about Ancestry.com, I love this one, we've got a whole board about crime. So the Old West, outlaws, prisoners, police records. When I click on that, then it'll take me to this crime board where I can then search for all different topics that might be related to that. Sometimes it's people asking questions, very specific questions, and others helping out and replying. Sometimes it's like I showed, people posting information that they've obtained another way. Excuse me. We have boards about genealogy software, immigration. I mean, just that's the point of browsing, is that you just look through some of these topics, orphans and orphanages, pioneer programs. You get an idea for what's available or for what exists, and then that helps you to understand maybe what kinds of things you could be looking for in your family history, different things you could be learning about that might help you in your research. So that's how I would browse those boards. The other way you can browse these particular boards is by surname. Now it's a little less obvious, so let me just show you how that works. right here you're going to see the word surnames and then just a string of the alphabet. So I could actually go through and click on a letter of the alphabet, and then it's just going to break it down letter by letter almost until it gets to a manageable size list where I can say, oh, that's the surname that I want. So here, for example, it's come up with the surname of Inman, which is one of the names that I'm interested in. There are 577 different threads on this board, which means 577 new messages that were posted, and then people then reply to those particular postings. So there's 1,477 total messages in 577 threads, and it looks like the last post made on this board was, like 2 weeks ago, on the 28th of April. So you'll see that some of these boards are very active and get postings every day. Some of them are a little less active, and that's okay. When you find a board that you're interested in, they're sorted in reverse chronological order by the latest posting. And so the post that came in the latest will be on the top and then work its way down from there until you get to some of the older things. Again, you can browse through this list and just see if there's a topic that catches your attention. Now, one of the things that I want to point out as we're looking at this has to do with subject lines. When you get to the point where you're going to want to post your own messages, pay really close attention to these subject lines. That's going to determine oftentimes who clicks on your message. That subject line becomes really important. So Inmans of New Jersey is not it's an okay subject line, right? But I may or may not be interested in that, right? Or Inmans of Tennessee and North Carolina, same thing. But this one, right? Luata Inman Sisk, 1919 to 2012 in Ohio. That is very specific to a person, and it would be something that I would be more likely to click on if that was what I was looking for. So think really carefully about your subject line, probably more than just about anything else when you start posting. Those are going to make the difference on whether or not people who use the message boards by browsing or by checking them on a regular basis just to see what's new or what's been posted about this particular surname or this particular county. That's going to determine whether or not people click on it. A less helpful kind of a title or a subject line would be something like this: Inman Family Help. Right? I'm probably not ever going to click on a subject line like that. But, again, here, Joyce V., Mrs. Alfred Inman, and then a specific year range is very particular. And my guess is if I were to click through on that, what I'd find is that somebody has uploaded an obituary. And in fact, that's the case. They've uploaded an obituary online and not even related. One of the things I love about the genealogy community is that people are so generous. I don't know who this Unicorn 1950 is, but my guess is they probably just copy the obituaries out of local newspapers and post them online. In this case, they've posted a link directly to the original and then copied the text so that it's fully searchable. So really great stuff going on these message boards, things that you might not find any other way if you didn't know that these were here and that these were available to you. Now, there are people who do post queries, of course. We're going to look at this one right here. Who was Phoebe Inman's parents? And so when we click on that, we'll see here that this Seeker2Tree, that's the user, in September of 2010, posted this query. And this person did a fairly good job of just articulating exactly what it was that they were looking for. So we have Phoebe Inman. They have a birth date and a death date. They have a marriage date and place. And then possibly another marriage place, so they're not quite clear on whether this person was married in Rhode Island or Massachusetts, but they do have a person that they were married to. And then, of course, the subject line clearly lists exactly what they're looking for. They want to know the parents of Phoebe Inman. Now, you'll notice here, this was posted in September of 2010, and the next reply that comes in on this thread is in February of 2012. So some message boards, you'll get replies instantly because they're very active and there's a lot of people that are interested in that surname or in that place, and they're willing to help each other out, and there's a lot of interaction going on. Some, like in this case, a year and a half later, somebody finally posts And they actually have some information here that maybe these two can then communicate about. So once he posted this original poster then has the opportunity to just continue the thread, right? Just reply to this person and ask further questions or share information publicly and openly. Or they can click on the user's name and communicate directly with them by contacting them that way. Now, if considering that this is, we're talking these people were born back in the mid-1700s, I would recommend that you keep this conversation very public, because chances are other people are also going to be looking for this Phoebe Inman. When you start getting back into the early 1700s or the early 1800s and the late 1700s, those people, and I don't know, different families are different, but those people could potentially have tens of thousands of descendants. And so if you take that conversation private or offline by contacting this user directly, then that information is not going to be made available to other people. But if you keep this discussion and this research query and sharing of information public by just replying to one another on this open message board, then it's available for other people, and it shows that you're interested in the topic, and so other people might contact you. So that's what I would really strongly recommend, particularly for queries about people who are long gone, to keep those public. Now, if the query is something a little bit more sensitive or something a little bit more close to home, if it's about a parent or a grandparent, put the original post out there, and then maybe you want to take that discussion offline as you start talking about details and getting into the weeds a little bit. Now, I showed you how to do a general search using this keyword field. Now, you'll notice now that I'm in a specific message board, I have some radio buttons here. I have the option to search again on all boards, or because I'm in this Inman board, I can actually search specifically in this board. Remember, 577 threads, 1,477 different messages. So I'm not going to probably read through all of those, but what I will do is search for specific people within this board to see if I can't find them. So now you'll see by searching in this one board only, I get 18 search results looking for a Carrie connected with this Inman family. Lots of different ways to do that. Again, if you get too many hits, you can narrow it. You'll see I can skim through, and each time her name is mentioned, it's highlighted, and so I can just continue to skim through this and see if one of these subject lines or if one of these snippets catches my attention. But remember, I am just in the Inman surname board. If, for example, I wanted to search for her in another board, I would just go to that location. So, for example, I could go to the United States. I'm going to click on States, scroll my way down to Ohio, and I could search Ohio, or I could get really specific, go to the specific county in Ohio, which in this case is, there's actually several counties that it could be. So I could search specifically in a county, or as you see again up here, my radio button shows up. I could search all counties in Ohio, all of the boards specifically for a Carrie Inman, and see what comes up. In this case, it's nothing. So lots of different ways you can do that. Again, you can search all boards. You can drill your way down to a specific locality, topic, or surname board and search that specific board for that person. Now, once you've done that, this advanced search becomes really great. And let me just show you why. Maybe you've been away from message boards for a little while, and so you want to see what's being talked about lately, okay? And you don't want to see every message board posting that's ever been posted. So what you can do is you can actually come over here and just look at things that have been posted, say in the last month since you last checked the message boards. And now I can see that there are 25 messages that have been posted with the surname Cowan in them in the last month. And then I can just, again, skim through those, see if any of them are pertinent to me, and work at that level. So that's how advanced search works. Again, it's just this tiny little link here next to your search button. You can click on that. If you remember who it was that you were talking to or communicating with, you can search by author. You can search by subject, lots of different filters that you can use there. One other thing I wanted to point out, when you are on a board, or even if you're in a tree, okay, so here's a tree for one of my great-grandmothers. All trees have an owner, and when you click on that owner, you can actually see how many trees they have and how many message board postings that they have made. And if I were to click on that, it would actually take me directly to their message board posting. The reason that's important is if they're researching family that is my family as well, maybe they're also posting obituaries, family Bible entries, maybe they're asking questions that I have the answers to. So oftentimes I'll check that tree owner and see what other things they're talking about. Now in this case, she's talking about Chilton County, Alabama, and it looks like she's looking for information or posted information about a Martin Goddard. Not any connection to me, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time with that. Same thing, you can do the same thing here on the message boards. You click on a name. It'll tell you, wow, this particular person happens to be very active on the message boards, and we have a few of these. She's posted 6,466 message board posts, and seeing as how she's posting obituaries here, my guess is that the majority of that is her contribution or her way of volunteering in the genealogy community to provide that information. So really great way to see what people are posting. If they're posting things that are similar to the things that you're posting, you can do it that way. Now let's see if I can pull up my own message board postings. I don't know if I should have tried this earlier. I have a few different usernames. There we go. Okay, so if I just search by author, you can see now I have several message board postings here. A few in the World Archives project. I used to help manage that project. So a couple here on the surname board for Cowan. When I click on that, again, what you're going to see here are other people I've communicated with about that post. So he made this post originally, I replied to it. You can also then click on all 4 of my message board posts directly that way and get an idea for what's going on. So that's how, let's see, that's browse, search, advanced search, searching in a board. Let me just talk to you really briefly then about making a new post. So when you are on when you're on the message board posting, you'll need to pick a specific message board to make your post in. Now if you scroll down to the bottom of this main message board screen, you're going to see these tiny little links down here. One is request a new board. So if you've been browsing and you don't find your surname listed or some variation of your surname listed, you can actually put in a request there. We do have some community guidelines. This message board community is managed almost entirely by volunteers who spend quite a bit of their time, like you could see from that one woman who had posted over 6,400 posts, quite a bit of their time and energy trying to make sure that things stay clean and appropriate and on the right boards and that people are communicating with each other. And so read those community guidelines if you're new to the boards. We also have some FAQs and a link, of course, for some feedback. But if you find the board that you are interested in and you decide this is where you're going to post your message, so I'm going to go here to my surname and we're going to look for Cowan is the board, okay? You can see here there's over 1,000 threads. So I've searched and nobody's talking about what I want to talk about. So here's this little link right here that says excuse me, that says begin new thread. So I can click on that. And now here's where I put in that very important subject. I'm not just saying, are there any Cowans out there? Because there are. I'm on the Cowan board. I'm looking specifically for someone or something in a specific date, time, and place. And so include that as concisely as possible in that subject line, and then go ahead and put your message out there. Recognize that you may have information to share as much as you can, and then make your question really clear. One of the things that I find is that people put information out there kind of hoping to, kind of fishing around, but there's no bait attached to the end of their hook. There's no specific question that they're asking for that they're putting out there. So try to be really specific about what it is that you're looking for. It automatically defaults to send you an alert when anyone replies to that thread. So make sure that you have that checked and pay attention to your messages. You can see I have a few up here. Pay attention to your messages on Ancestry so that you'll know when somebody has replied to that. It also, if you've set up your account in your preferences here, it will also send you an email when somebody posts. include the surnames and only the surnames. So if I've talked about George Cowan and Jane Kahn and their children and here's who their daughters married, I might have a list down here of 6 or 7 surnames, but make sure that that's all that's listed in that field. And then we're asking you now to classify what this is. If it's a query, if you're looking for information, that of course is the default because that's where most people start. But if you're now to the point where you're sharing information, like a family Bible or an obituary, a will, there's lots of really great wills that have been transcribed and put on here. Just make sure that you classify it accordingly so that when people are searching, they know what they're looking for. And then you can preview it to make sure it looks okay and that you've spelled everything right and that you've really asked the questions you wanted to and that you didn't transpose any numbers in a date, whatever. Preview. I always preview my work just to make sure that I didn't miss anything in this little window and that I know what it's going to look like when it posts to other people. And then go ahead and click post. And like I said, you may find that you get immediate responses. In the case of this particular board, it looks like they're fairly active. The last post was made on the 11th of May. Looks like quite a few through the month of April. So some boards, like I said, are a little more active. You may get some immediate replies or requests for clarification. Or in the case of the one post that I put out there, it took 7 years, but I did get a reply, and I got a reply with some really great information. So you can do that. Finally, you just have these little page tools over here. Go exploring, see how they work, but one of the things that you can do is you can add a specific board to your favorites, or you can add a board to your alerts. So if you have a very particular or unique surname, maybe one of the things you want to do is either subscribe to that board or add it to your alerts, so anytime anybody posts anything in that board, you get notified. Play around with that until you figure out how that works for you, but that's how it works for me. Okay, that's all I have for you today on message boards. Let me just share with you just a couple of final thoughts. Again, as always, if you have research questions or challenges, you can email us at ask@ancestry.com. We do read through all of those, and that's where we get our ideas for the things that you're struggling with. It helps keep us in touch with the questions that you have and the types of research that you're doing so that we can craft these presentations. On the Ancestry.com Facebook page, if you click on this little icon here to see all of the things that are going on our Facebook page, we have an events tab. That events tab will list all of our upcoming events. It looks like we've got everything scheduled through the month of May and maybe even into the first week of June here. Like I mentioned, tonight I will be doing an hour-long webinar on, and it's at 8 o'clock Eastern. I'm in Mountain Time Zone. That's why you're seeing 6 o'clock here. An hour-long webinar for beginners about just how to get going and how things are done in genealogy. On Thursday, we'll have another live stream webinar at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, just about some I get asked all the time, what's the best way to do this? What's the best way to enter names or dates or whatever? And so I'll share some of those things. And then on Thursday evening, again, that's at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, Juliana will be doing a webinar about how to extract clues from your census records. Oftentimes we find that people have the records, they found them, but then they feel like they've hit a brick wall. Well, it's because there's information in the census records that they haven't really figured out what it means, and that information really often leads to more clues or more places to look. So again, that's on the Ancestry.com Facebook page. Click on the events tab. You can then sign up for or ask for a reminder for any of the events that are coming up in the next several weeks. So that's all I have for you today. I will be live on chat immediately following this. If you're watching this live, if you're watching it archived, feel free to send us an email. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.